All right, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Today we're here with Griot B. Now, this brother is not only a hip hop artist, he's also an educator. I heard some of his music and I was highly impressed. Make you want to dance a little bit. I know y'all were laughing at me about me dancing with the Ethiopian people, but if you haven't seen that, check that out in our Ethiopian documentary that's posted on our channel. So, Griot, thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me. Truly appreciate it, Phil.
All right, Griot, tell people a little bit about yourself, like how you grew up and brought you to the where you're at today.
I'm that black praising, fact saying, track slaying teacher. I talk so much as a kid. My Aunt Margie called me preacher. I walk into a class and tell the staff, "Nice to meet you. Drink your kombucha. I'll show you how to reach them." I'm a griot. A griot in West Africa was a historian. He told the history. He taught the lineage of people, and he advised the king, but he did so through music. And so that's what I do. I'm African American male, obviously, from Los Angeles, California initially, or pardon me, Fresno, California, moved to Los Angeles and became through the track of education. And as in education, I kind of saw the need of having an African American male in the schools and in classes. And so as I start to teach, I realized, history can be a boring subject. And, there's not a lot of teachers trying to make it more entertaining, something that is reaching the students. Where a lot of the old school teachers are like, back in my days, we just sat there, shut up and listened. And so it doesn't work for this generation of students because they don't have the same structures and they have a lot more distractions than we had as kids. It's the age of information at your fingertips. So from that, I decided, hey, let me actually make some music to actually teach. And so that's what I do. I rap about history, I tell stories, and I do it in a creative fashion.
Now, you mentioned education, and I would say definitely God bless you for wanting to educate our kids. A lot of people need education. Unfortunately, you would think in the information age you would have more people that is educated in certain things, but as I'm finding out as of recently, my God, we need a lot of education. So, what is the issue in the black community a lot of times when it comes to education? Because it seems like, we have some of the smartest people, but we don't take advantage of education. Let's say like a lot of the people in the Asian community, I know they push education a lot. And we used to do that in our community just as a whole. You got to have education, you got to have education. But why is it that we don't pursue that as much as other groups?
It's a good question. It's a powerful question. I want to start that by asking you a question. Right? When you see a young kid on the street, let's say about 10 kids, and you ask them what they want to be, black kids, what are the odds are they say?
9 out of 10 is probably going to be some sports player or maybe some rapper.
Yeah. And that's what the issue is. It starts there. It starts in really what our students see as role models. You go to a summer camp, a day camp, in Marina Del Rey or, a very affluent city, predominantly white or Asian, right? And you ask them what they want to be. There's a difference. You hear not just fireman or policeman, but you hear investment banker. You hear, I want to be a phlebotomist. And the reason you do so is because of exposure of information, right? So in the African American community, a lot of times it seems from my experience, we've leaned a lot on what we've been given as opposed to what there could be. And there could be a lot more for our students if they're exposed to a lot more information. That's really one of the main reasons I do this is because, when you turn the TV on, what you see, but we are more than just entertainers and athletes. And that's important for our students to know because the number one cure for ignorance is knowledge.
Right. And I believe that our children, just based off of my experience, when I went to the African Union in Addis Ababa, I believe all of our children should go see that. I mean, just on the educational aspect, they should go see that. And why is it that we don't really like take our children abroad a lot more to get them, further educated instead of just keeping them in this bubble in America, which is, definitely has a lot of propaganda to tell our children, or all you can be is really a rapper or a singer. Okay, if you can't be a rapper or a ball player or whatever, then what are you going to do?
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with money. I mean, Phil, you're very blessed and fortunate enough. And I put myself, my parents actually put me in a situation where I was able to be work away to get my master's and have that education. But when we look at the majority of our communities, we don't have access to that same type of income and wealth that allows us to take those trips. Or moreover, we don't have the time or the perceived time to do so. Many of our families, either, single family households, or we have many families that are, of a nuclear unit family, but they're both working to kind of survive. And so those trips, they're a rarity. You have many students who haven't even seen the beach, and they live in LA, or, they live in the city, but they've never been, on the other side of the tracks. And that's just the way things are, because we're so focused on just surviving a lot of times that we're not able to kind of see the other things. And once again, that's pretty much why I do this, to offer different stories or different narratives, so people can see that there are other things out there, but do so that actually engages our community and our students who learn more through music.
Yeah, well, you mentioned earlier about the money aspect. They have like a websites like secretflying.com. I was just told about a trip, for instance, from Seattle to Johannesburg, South Africa, for a little over $500. So
What?
yeah,
Okay.
oh yeah, they got this website called Secret Flying, and you can get them for 500 all the way up to sometime maybe $700-800. You catch it just right, round trip. You can go to visit African nations. So what I'm saying is, a lot of times we don't know about those deals, but I think a lot of our children definitely need to visit an African nation. I really think that would open their minds up. Just, you realize a lot of African people also speak different languages. And when I
Mm-hmm.
came back to America, it's like, wait a minute, most of us only speak English. Like when I went over there, everybody's speaking sometimes 2 and 3 languages.
You know what they call somebody who speaks only one language in the world?
What's that?
American.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you feel out of
Yeah.
place real quick. I'm those like friends in Ethiopia, they were speaking Amharic and English. But
Mm.
I'm over here. Yes, I understand some Spanish and I can speak a little of it, but I'm not
Mm.
fluent enough in Spanish to say, yeah, that's my second language.
Correct. Yeah, it's a difficult thing. I'm learning Spanish. I got the Rosetta Stone. I recognize that there's a power in being able to speak more language, just like us. And the thing is, if we're really honest, Phil, we have, African Americans, we have a second language. We code switch. I mean, it's not a codified language, and it's not something that can be specifically put in books. They tried that with Ebonics. That didn't turn out too well. Big uproar. But we code switch as well, and we have our abilities to kind of, to traverse the different communities, whether we're in this corporate America, or we're back in the hood, or we're with our family. We have ways of switching our speak, but as far as a specific language, we don't have that. We were taught the language of, the masters at the time.
Unfortunately, I also have an app that I was using that was, just trying to brush up on my Spanish called Duolingo. Have you seen that app?
Yeah, Duolingo. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty popular app, and you can also even learn, like say, Swahili on there. It was like, I say, this is cool,
Mm-hmm.
because you're hearing a lot of African people want to push to learn Swahili. I know in South Africa they're talking about making it mandatory to learn that in school by 2020. It's
Mm-hmm.
Swahili. So I think our kids should just get more acclimated, just like you say, educational wise. But what are the hindrances to education for a lot of our children as well?
Wow, that's a powerful question. A lot of the hindrances to education are, I would say, the first one starts with family, right? So it's you have a situation in the education system, right, where you have a teacher who is pseudo surrogate family at that time. Like they're the surrogate parent in the sense where they're for 8, hours of the day, 5 days a week, they're with your child, right?
Hmm.
And so the access there is a lack of trust within those communities, or full trust, right? In the sense where you're just blindly saying, yo, you're there. That's your new, teacher. And no matter what, you're going to listen to them. And on the flip side is there's no vetting of that. There's no real, at times, parents aren't in the classrooms or having those communication with teachers consistently. They're not making sure they're speaking to teachers to figure out exactly what's being taught in the class, or if there's a discipline issue, right? There's no follow through and follow up, because it's both sides of the coin. There are times where parents, they're wrong. There are times where teachers, in a sense, are wrong when it comes to discipline of the student. It's important for there to be accurate communication between all parties. So I think the first thing is communication with the people who are entrusted to take care of your child, right? There has to be some trust there, and trust is breeds through communication. Can't just be blind. I think.
Well, I noticed in school when I was, majority of the teachers, even to this day, from what I saw, a figure say 75% of teachers in public schools are white female, and we don't have enough, male or female teachers that are black. And I remember some of my teachers that were black, they took up more time with me. They kind of understood me a lot more. I'm not saying that the white teachers wasn't good teachers and I didn't learn anything from them. No, but I noticed that the black teachers, understood kids from the hood. Understood, maybe that kid needs to be talked to a little bit. Maybe don't have the right, parents at home. And definitely when I had a black teacher as a, male, he was really instrumental. The ones that stepped up. So why is it that we don't have, more, of our teachers stepping up? Is it that they're sick of the system, or do you believe that we should create, our own schools to facilitate that proper education for black children?
I mean, that's a very full question. The truth is, if you look at historically, segregation or desegregation, pardon me, was good for America in the sense where it made sure that we're living up to the values that we're prescribed in our Constitution. However, for the African American community, it wasn't the best thing. I think when we were able to teach our own, like you said, there's power within teaching people who look like you. There's power as a student to look at somebody that looks like you, can identify with you. You can understand them more and they can understand you. There is true power in that. And that's why what I do, Schoolyard Rap, as a company, when I created, was specific for that, because you're not going to change that overnight, right? There's not going to be this huge influx of African-American teachers as there should be, right? I think it should be a requirement in many communities for people to give back into education, right? Because that is where it starts. Intelligence is torch of wisdom. You have education being true liberation. There's all these ideologies that say education is key, right? But we don't have that influx right now. And so what I'm doing through my company, Schoolyard Rap, and as an artist, Griot B, is I'm creating different tools for teachers to use in the class, for that white teacher to be able to reach that student, to play some music that is good sounding, but also is educating them about their history so that they know more about themselves. And what that does is it endears the teacher to the student, because now they're trying their best to reach the student where they're at through a modem that is actually enjoyable to the student, and the student appreciates that over time. And so, yeah, we need a huge influx of teachers. We need African Americans to be teachers. We need Latinos and to be teachers. That's a thing that needs to happen in this country. Teach for America should make a big push to have more people of color to become teachers. In the meantime, what I'm doing through Schoolyard Rap and as an artist is providing good music and content that teach about histories of people of color, like Latinos, through Historia, the Latinx history album, and Our Story, the Black history album.
So you mentioned, you said Latinx, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so what is your connection to the Latin community? Because, I heard like one of your songs, La Banda, and a few, things that you have going on. Can you tell me about your connection, even with the Afro Latinos themselves?
Yeah, well, I'm in California.
Yeah.
You live in Cali, you're around Latinos. I'm from LA, so I grew up around that culture. I say for Christmas we had cornbread, collard greens and tamales, pupusas, and elote is what I grew up on. Mm-hmm. In addition to that, I've had the powerful experience of being an instructor and a teacher in a predominantly African American school, as well as a predominantly Latino school, right? And so with that, you have to be able to understand it. You have to be able to educate. And so that's why, we create the Black History album initially, because that's my passion, as an African American male, is to teach about my people, right? To uplift. In addition to that, there's a huge void that needs to be filled when learning about, Latinx history. And I say Latinx as opposed to Latino or Latina. It's kind of an all-inclusive phrase that's been kind of gaining popularity in the Bay Area and nationwide. And so Historia is the album we created to actually teach about Latinx history. And so with that, it's including a bunch of students, different individuals from the community and culture. We talk about Afro-Latinas in a song called Afro-Latina. We talk about Latinx inventors. We talk about, the Zoot Suit riots and Hispanophobia, as well as misconceptions through the video that's we put out recently, our first single called What You Don't Know, which is all about misconceptions in the communities.
So the music itself, is it all on SoundCloud? Is it iTunes? Like where people can get that music at?
Absolutely. All of my albums, the Black History album, Our Story, as well as the Latinx History album, Historia, are available on iTunes, as well as Apple Music, Spotify, Google Play, Tidal. And if you want it for hard copy as well as any merchandise, at schoolyardrap.com. And there we have, different comic books and videos to kind of correspond with the information that's taught in the songs.
So how long have you been doing music?
Man, I started as a teacher. So what, 6 years now? Yeah, 6 years ago, I made my first song. My student, he was listening to Chief Keef, and there's a song. Nah, that's that thing I don't like.
Yeah. I know you're talking about.
And that's the first time because I just come out of college. And I'm listening to my old school mixtapes, and that's the music I like. And I never heard Chief Keef, so I listened. I said, "What is this?" He said, "Yo, Mr. Brown, that's dope." I said, "Man, this is trash." And he said, "I bet you can't do better." Challenge accepted. And so that night, pardon me, I went home and I made a song because I was teaching about the Stamp Act and the Quartering Act. And it was like, Stamp Act, that's that thing I don't like. Quartering Act, that's that thing I don't like. And I brought it to school the next day and they loved it. And they were enthused about it. And they said, "Yo, let's do that again. Can you play it again?" And my test scores that year rose 14% because I started making songs to actually teach. And so from there, I said, "Yo, I'm doing this about U.S. history." I got my master's and I did my master's in teaching, and I did my master's about using music in the classroom. That was my thesis. And I said, "Yo, let's actually do something that matters to me more, teaching about history of people of color." And so that's when we did the Black History album last year. We released it.
So music is very popular. We know that, and there's a lot of power to music. And we've heard, behind the scenes things that happen within the music industry where they, wanted to get together and linking up with private prison companies and want to promote a message to hopefully get these young men to get into prisons. And music is very therapeutic. Music can be very suggestive. Also, music as well can type into the psyche, right? So why is it that more people don't use music like you're using for education?
That's a good question. There are some people who are doing it. I mean, think about this. Say your ABCs right now. Go ahead.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Every time people say their ABCs, they do it in the sing-song fashion, right? Because that's how we're taught. Music is powerful as a tool. There's not many people doing it because it doesn't seem lucrative, right? It's not something that is already pre-established. There's some companies, I won't say their name because competitors in the sense, that have tried this. And as a teacher, when I taught, I looked into them to find some resources.
Right.
But it was easy. It was corny. It wasn't good sound of music. The kids did not have the same response as they did when I made the music. And now, okay, was it because I was a teacher and I was their teacher? No, it was because the music was different. I'm coming from a different lens, a hip hop head who grew up on Tribe and Cube and listened to music and loves it. And I make good music that teaches as opposed to teaching through music. So it's a void that needs to be filled. And so what I'm trying to do is truly make an entire new genre of music. You got Christian rap, you got backpack rap. I want educational rap. I want this to be something that is so successful in the vein that I'm doing it, that people say, "Yo, I need to get on that." Right? And I'm a pioneer of this. And that's the goal, really, to do something that's so powerful that more people are doing it, because that means ultimately if more people are doing it, my people are affected and the kids are changed. And that's the goal, is to get the students to rise up and be more empowered.
Well, you're just trying to really return hip hop back to really what it was. Because you think about it from the beginning, there was some party music, but a lot of it was switched to consciousness as well. And there was a lot of, good messages. I don't know, you remember, what's that song all the rappers got on, Self-Destruction? Remember that video?
Self-destruction.
Yeah. It's like things like that where people come together, actually put out a message to try to help out the community. And we need to get back to that because it's trash that they put out today, talking about, Percocet and Molly and women and like cars. Like, you're not learning anything. You're just wasting time, listening to that kind of music. So I'm glad, people like you are out there trying to educate our children. And you say you can find it on Tidal, Spotify, Apple, Google Play, and anywhere that people have subscription services, correct?
Yes, look up Griot B, Griot B, and then or Schoolyard Rap, the name of the company. Remember Schoolhouse Rock? We're just doing it different for this generation, Schoolyard Rap, and it's all there. Every single song, every album. I will say this: I like to merely rock. I'm a Q. I set out hops, but it's like these lyrics are leaving our kids saying them and brainwashed. They need options. They need to hear they can steer from the path that they're veered.
And you say the album name is Schoolyard Rap?
The name of the Black History album is Our Story, one word, not history, but Our Story. The name of the Latinx History album is Historia, Historia, and they're available on every streaming platform out there. Just look at my artist name Griot B or Schoolyard Rap as the company.
Yeah, you have one that said Black made that, right?
Oh yeah, Black May. Oh man, that one has literally it has over 500K streams or views. Pardon me, on YouTube or not YouTube. Pardon me, Facebook. So that got shared. HBCU there is another one on the Black History album that has literally over 1 million views on Facebook. Those are all songs. At Black Mate, that's all about Black inventions. HBCU there is all about going to different, the historically Black colleges and the experience behind that. Yeah, those songs are amazing.
I pulled up your album on Tidal because, like I said, as people talk, sometimes I pull it up and I look Our Story. I like that cover that you have on there. But you talk about Mansa Musa, which I just watched this thing about him the other day about Mansa Musa, and you said Nubian Queens, Juneteenth, Black Soldiers, HBCU there, Need Negro. I'm listening to this in the car when I leave here. I definitely want to hear exactly what's on this album. I'm interested at the track. So, I like hip hop. I've always been a fan of hip hop. So, anybody who's doing that is awesome. So, Griot, can you tell people, outside of what we're talking about the music, how to get in contact with you?
Yeah, you can check out me through Instagram. My Instagram page is the Griot B, THE, Griot, GRIOTB, as well as our website, schoolyardrap.com. And of course through email, schoolyardrap@gmail.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, reach out to the brother. We'll put out his information, the pinned comment like we do for all our guests, so you guys can contact him. Maybe some questions you had I did not ask or elaborate on, so just do that yourself. But Griot, thanks for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to meeting up with you in Houston.